Ah, beautiful. Just a quiet day at the beach. Nothing's gonna disturb my quiet, relaxing, peaceful day. Let me just lay back and enjoy California sunshine. Mm-mm-mm. Let's go! California! Woo! Whoa, whoa, whoa! What are you doing? What? It's just sound. What's the problem? It's not just sound, it's noise pollution. Wait, pollution? Like smog? Yep, too much sound can harm humans and wildlife. Dang! I thought I was just vibing. You are, but maybe just turn it down a bit.
Now let me welcome everybody to the Wild Wild West, a state that's untouchable like Elliot Ness. The track hits your eardrum.
Hi, welcome to topic 7.8 noise pollution. How would you like to live in one of these houses right next to an airport with giant planes like this landing? This happens to be Heathrow Airport. Those of you that know your geography know that this is London. This is how these, oh look, see, they're driving on the wrong side of the car because they're driving on the wrong side of the road. Hope you guys enjoyed Breezy and Boombox. See if you recognize this. This is really the source of some of our major noise pollution problems here in Long Beach. This happens to be the 710 freeway, but not current day. This is in 1953. Okay, this is what the 710 looked like. Obviously, much more crowded nowadays. I thought this was fun to throw in. This is back in 1953. So this must have been, or maybe this is 56. That might have been 56. Because 53, it looks like they were still planning this. Or this may have been actually the first section, actually. Building it to go basically into the Los Angeles area. Back then, the main road you had to go towards LA or Pasadena was this is Bellflower. No, actually, no, that's Lakewood. You can still see some signs along Lakewood that say Pasadena in a certain amount of time. Those are from 50, 60 years ago when the 710 was new. We still had to drive on those other roads. This right here is a map of our LA basin showing the major noise pollution problems. And you can see it's these darker colors right here. This is LAX. And this is our Long Beach Airport, LBX. And this is Santa Ana, SNA. So anywhere where there's an airport, there's a big airport out in Ontario Airport. And up here is Van Nuys Airport. And I'm not sure what this is. Maybe this is Van Nuys. This is Burbank. I got to check that out. But wherever there's an airport, that's also a major source of noise pollution. We happen to be located right here. Stop doing that. Right here. And of course, the 710 and the 91. Those are our major pollution sources. It's interesting, those flight paths. LAX has two main runway takeoff and landing, that are about a mile apart or half a mile apart, I guess. And you can see those two. Anyway, interesting map of the different areas and the noise levels we see. So we're talking about this because noise is a form of pollution. It can cause problems physiologically with us. So physiological stress and, of course, hearing loss, something we have to be concerned about. So look at all these developmental problems. So write these down: cognitive development, psychological triggers, PTSD. I'm always worried about fireworks and the 4th of July. People have actually been in war and have to deal with, actual gunfire, bombs going off, point where them seeing the horrors of war and revisiting that, when they're hearing all the fireworks. Sleep disturbance from that. It can cause increased heart rate and other heart problems. High blood pressure. That high blood pressure is one of the biggest problems that people have that can lead to lots of different issues, physical health issues and problems. So never good to have anything that raises blood pressure. Of course, anxiety we know about. So immune system problems. So many physical things that can happen, and psychological when we're facing noise stress. So typical, I believe it's somewhere in South America. Might be Paraguay. Oh no, this is Sao Paulo, Brazil. I believe it's the biggest city in South America. So any large urban area, you're going to face a lot of traffic noise. That's traffic from cars, trucks, trains, and airplanes. Cars, trucks, planes, and airplanes. Write that down. Now, we don't think, where we live, we don't think about trains as much, but in other parts of the world, there's much more train activity. So it looks like about 75% of people, a little less than 75%, are under 45 decibels at night. Where am I? There we go. So that is what the WHO recommends to be under 40 at nighttime. So what I want you to do, and we'll do an activity about this, but check what your decibel level. There's a lot of apps you can get on your phones that can check decibel levels. It gives you a pretty reasonable measurement. But we see about a quarter of people in the United States, around 25%. It's just too loud at night. And I've had some issues with neighbors in the past. I know partly what it's like to try to go to sleep and relax in my house when there's a lot of noise happening. And those of you that have gone through that or face that now, you understand how it can cause stress. Now right here, this is down in Australia. And this funny looking metal thing covering over it's kind of like a trellis over the road, is designed to reduce roadway noise. Reduce noise from the road, but look good while doing it. Kind of looks good, doesn't it? So making things look good and have a functional purpose, traffic designers are trying to do that around the world. So let's just talk a little bit about how noise is measured. It's measured in this unit called a decibel, and that's logarithmic. It goes, every level is 10 times greater. It's not 10 levels greater, it's 10 times 10, 100 levels greater. So if you go from 10 to 20, it's not just doubling, but it's increasing by a factor of 10. So times 10, times, so every level is 10, like 40 level of 40 is 10 times louder than a level of 30, and so forth. But this is what we'll play with, measuring decibels. Anything that's light green is good. in this light green. When we get to teal, right here in this area, this can be more harmful. This is problematic once you get up 70 and above. And once you get to around 80 to 85, you see in the red, this is where you have health problems. Health problems. So let's look through this. Normal conversation is around 60. And then washing, you all kind of know what a washing machine, dishwasher sounds like. Annoying, but not a problem. City traffic, same way. So like a leaf blower or lawnmower, that's getting kind of loud, and motorcycles are getting up around 100. I've heard many students listening to their earbuds too loud. That can be a problem, and you may have noticed on your phone it'll actually tell you that's a problem. So, you know, definitely sirens, firecrackers, you're getting up to 150. So these are the ranges of the different sounds we might hear in our daily life. But the daily lives. But here, this is a good 2 hours of listening to 95 decibels may damage your hearing. Okay? So, like if you're on a motorcycle and you're hearing that, you're definitely damaging your hearing. So, sources. We talked about this before. Transportation. Transportation. What we see in this picture, construction. You may be living by a construction site. We are right now. And at certain points in the last 12, 13, 14 years, it has gotten a little loud. It has been disruptive to many students on campus. Domestic things, that's what I mentioned before. People playing music loud, loud TVs, thumping, especially people have those speaker bars with bass, boom, boom. It really crank that up. And then industrial activity. Industrial, like Port of LA, refineries, warehouses where there are trucks going around, in and out, which is transportation, but it's part of an industrial process. So here we go, garage band, boom, boom, or any kind of loud music. There might be loud live music near a park where you live, and you might hear that. So kind of domestic problems. This is something called a data center, and this is kind of the new thing people are worried about. A lot of these data centers are going out, and they can be pretty darn loud. You'll all notice these are above, remember, 80 to 85 is when you start to get dangerous. And you see a lot of these parts. I don't know what the rotary UPS is, but the server racks, what you see right here, 96 decibels. That's too loud. Server areas, all these racks, 92, too loud. Air handlers, that's getting there. Okay, power supply fans, these are something, write this down. Data centers going to become an issue. And here you see a data center going up. I forgot to get what this was, but from the looks of it, it looks like it's a pretty dry area. So it's definitely in the west United States. Could be Idaho, Utah, could be Washington State. And you see a lot of farming near here. So it looks like an agricultural area. So luckily not people living near here and the noise coming from them. But the workers here need to be conscious of this to protect themselves. Now here, this is an Amazon Web Services Center. All of Amazon runs on these AWS server farms, processing all the information, and we do see this very close to housing. So these houses will be hearing vibrations from the server farm, and it's just there are certain regulations in effect, but these data centers are relatively new. But this is an interesting piece I found. Most of the source of the noise is the chiller or cooling fans that are running all day long, every day, never stop. And then they have backup generators that when they're not working, they need to test. So they'll need to run them to make sure they're working, and they'll make noise that way. But there are technology, they're trying to reduce the amount of noise different ways aerodynamically, the moving parts to make them less noisy, and then different kinds of silencers and enclosures, baffles, walls, ways to deal with it. But the low frequency is really tough. Those bright vibrations are tough to deal with. Here's something in, let's see, did I skip that? Yes, I did skip it. So how does this affect the world around us, the living world around us, okay, in the ecosystem? Gotta talk about that. So we're stressing out animals, not just us, but every animal that we come into contact with around the world. So they can interfere with animals communicating, through calls, any kind of vocaling, interfere with hunting, acquiring food. And both of those things are extremely important for animals, of course. Communicating if there's a predator around or if there's food around, and then hunting. And then some animals, like these birds you might see by the space shuttle, change their migratory routes. So the migration can be affected. They use sound cues to migrate, but also, mating, and just putting more stress on these animals. And we know there's just a lot of stress on animals from a lot of different factors that we put forth. Scientists are also very concerned about the oceans. There's so much noise going on in the ocean, and it travels way farther than it does in air. So we see a fishing industry creates a lot of noise. Echo sounders to find the fish. They'll put a lot of noise out there, and to locate where they're at. And just regular ship noise from shipping. Propellers, vibrations. And scientists do these things called seismic surveys, like the military wants to know where to watch out for with their ships and submarines. So they'll make sounds to map the ocean to find those dangers. And also wind farms, they do create noise. Now people might say, well, shouldn't have wind farms. It creates problems for the animals in the ocean, so they might argue against it. But the reason why we're having the problem is because there's too many ships, and a lot of those are oil tankers. Like this one right here looks like, that's not an oil tanker, but it could be. Oil tankers create a lot of this noise. So if you have more wind farms, you can have fewer oil tankers, which will overall reduce the noise. Remember, no solution is ever perfect. So people that are trying to argue false points or trying to mislead, especially arguing against renewable resources, will try to act like they care about the environment and throw those things out there. But you just have to use your ability to reason. Wind farms most likely create a lot less noise overall than shipping all this oil all over the globe. And you get countless more benefits. So a lot of this, something called the noise propeller cavitation. I just love, it's a cool idea. When it spins through the water, it creates small little bubbles and they implode, and that creates noise. And just engine noise. The hum from the engine creates a lot of low frequency noise. Flow noise, just the water going against the hull. So this has 150 marine species, but it's probably 10 times more than that, because everything in the ocean is affected by other living things. Everything's connected in our food web. So write down a couple of these: fish and shellfish, belugas, narwhals, bowhead whales. This looks like mostly Arctic marine ecosystems, but they affect all ecosystems. Okay, yeah, ability to communicate, navigate, find food, find partners. Same thing is on land. Okay, so here's a practice a suggested skill for this topic. Look at text and kind of analyze it, see what the authors, see if it's a good claim or not. Use that claim evidence reasoning strategy. Claim evidence reasoning. So for our claim, we can kind of see is basically living near airports leads to higher risk of heart disease. Okay, so that's what I can see. That's their claim. Do they have evidence to back up that claim? Remember, that's super important. People say stuff all the time. You can say anything. If you don't have evidence, it's a problem. Oh, they do have an evidence. They have this study with 10,000 people. Okay. Went for 10 years. Okay. And it showed a 20% higher rate. Okay. So that's their evidence. And I guess the reasoning, let's see. Just kind of ask yourself, does this seem reasonable? Is it a solid argument to make? And I would say, without seeing the source, it is solid. Okay, 10,000 is a good number of people. So a lot of lots of participants. You got a large sample size. 10,000 is a lot for a human study, and also 10 years is a long time. So that is, 10 years worth of data. That's a lot of data. 10,000 people be in the study. That's a lot of people over a long period of time. And also they control for other factors like smoking or income, things that could lead to skewing the results. Controls other complicating factors. Like smoking and income. And smoking is obvious, but income might not be as much. But people with higher income, have better access to better food, better medical care, a safer environment to live in. So it can be a big advantage, and that needs to be ruled out as an effect on this. But you also want to ask yourself, does this show causation necessarily? And or is it correlation? So causation versus correlation. People will bring that up a lot. Oops. Causation, correlation. And it's always best to have a study that shows causation. But those tend to be a lot trickier, more expensive to do. So we tend to see more correlation. Now, so this doesn't show causation necessarily. You would have to have a group exactly the same here that did not listen to airports. So you'd have to have a group that didn't live near an airport. Now, it doesn't say that they did this. They live further away, it would. Okay, but I'm not quite sure based on this. show, ultimate causation, we'd have to really know exactly how all those people are experiencing the noise, and just be able to isolate that variable better. But it's pretty strong. It's pretty strong, solid reasoning. Okay. So a couple things you can do. You might see a lot. These are noise walls they're putting around freeways that are pretty effective at, reducing noise. There's no EPA solid guidelines, but most local cities regulate this stuff. And this right here, it's amazing. It is noise reducing asphalt. So cars and trucks on this noise reduction sound way less noisy than standard asphalt. And it works by absorbing some of the vibrations and air that create the noise when wheels roll across them. So just think about the noisiest parts of your life and think about ways you can reduce the amount of noise that you're experiencing during the day and see if it helps make you feel better. And turn those headphones down, please.
Greens, lean, mean, money making